Hey, welcome guys to the OCTV Twitch channel and welcome to the Road to MOA show 5th edition. I'm here again this week with Peter from HWBOT. Hi Peter, how's it going?
Going very well, thank you.
So Peter, you are in charge of HWBOT, like running daily operations and competitions. That's to introduce you.
Oh yeah, basically. Yeah. I suppose the title is project manager, which basically means that responsible for a lot of things.
Everything. Not most of the things. And this week again, I have also with me Trouffman from Montreal over there. Hi Trouffman, how's it going?
Doing well. It's quite a good time to see the weekend here.
Yeah, all right. Well, so for you it's 9 p.m. Because you're on the Eastern time zone, and for us it's 9 a.m. over here in Taipei, and we have a beautiful day. So I hope you have a beautiful evening as well.
And we hope you had a beautiful night if you live in Europe and you're watching this, because it's gonna be like almost 3 a.m. for people in Paris, London, or Madrid.
Yes. So I think if at 3 a.m. you're actually watching this stream, you're probably one of our most dedicated viewers right now. So
Hardcore
fans. Yeah. That's the name. Exactly. So for this week's show, we are again talking about the MOA and the MSI overclocking competition. So basically, this show is all about explaining what the MOA is about and how the qualifiers are going, and what is going to be MOA like this year, pretty much. So maybe Trouffman, can you tell us quickly what the MOA competition series is and all that stuff?
So basically, the MOA is it's the Master Overclocking Arena. So we're in the 7th edition this year, and this is the biggest worldwide competition of overclocking. So for those that just join us and that was not there in the previous show, overclocking is a way to get your computers run faster. So you change settings, you overclock the frequency. So you go from a processors that you buy that is at 3 gigahertz and you push that to 4.5. Or like us, you can push that to maybe 6 gigahertz or even more. So the MSI MOA is the biggest worldwide competitions about that. There was a qualifier all around the world in America, Europe, APAC, and a worldwide qualifier that we're gonna get back to this in the show, and that's it. The show is all about these qualifications. So everyone is trying to fight to be the best overclocker in the world and to break as much world record as you can.
That's right, and MOA is all about extreme, right? It's not about it's not like a 24/7 kind of overclocking you would be doing. It's really the most extreme kind of thing. So what I'm proposing is, before we look at MOA more in depth, let's have a look at this year's MOA trailer by MSI. Right, so before we talk about MOA, we should probably introduce who is MSI. So MSI is a computer company, and what they are doing is manufacturing the main components that you need for your computer to work. So you need a motherboard, so they are doing motherboards. They are also having graphics cards, which are probably the most important part if you're actually playing serious gaming. So that's what MSI is doing, and so they have different series of hardware. They have a more entry-level series, which is blue color. They have a red series, which is their gaming series, pretty much. And they also have the yellow motherboard and graphics cards, like the Lightning or the Z97 M-Power, for example, and all those boards, those are overclocking series. So what overclocking series means is that those boards are designed for overclocking. They have they come with features to help you to overclock, so spatial BIOSes and also additional software, like you would have the Afterburner, for example, for your graphics card overclocking. So those are those yellow series, overclocking series hardware are the ones that we are going to use, and so this is what is going to be used for the competition. So Trouffman, can you tell us quickly what is the purpose of the MOA competition itself?
So more in detail, the MOA is about to find out who is the best overclocker in the world on MSI hardware. So all the overclockers did compete in their region to like America competes and Europe compete, and APAC, like APAC is Asia. They all compete against each other online and try to find who is the best one and how they can actually tweak the best their system. So there's a restriction on the hardware. So as this competition is sponsored by MSI, it's been organized by MSI directly, you have to use MSI hardware, you have to use MSI graphic cards and MSI mainboard. And for that you can use different kind of cooling. So as I said, overclocking is a way to increase the capabilities and computing power of your computer. So you buy something like I don't know, like a 3 GHz processors, a mainboard, a graphic cards, and you can run that straight away off the box, and there's some performances. And if you want more performances, instead of just buying a new hardware and changing that, you can overclock that. And what we're doing in the Master Overclocking Arena is basically extreme overclocking. So regular overclocking, you can do that on air cooling, water cooling, all the basic things you want to have your system. So everyone that is watching this show might have a gaming computers, or add at some point, or will have at some point. You can just buy that, put it on the side and play with it. But sometimes say, oh, maybe I need to try this new game, I want something more. And then what you can do is start overclocking, and you can keep the same cooling and do your stuff and gain maybe like 20% increase in performances just by overclocking that computers. What we do in the Master Overclocking Arena is extreme. So we change the cooling system. We don't use cases at all. So we just take like the main board, like this one. That's the Z97 Gaming 9 from MSI. And we do put some special cooling on it. Usually we use the liquid nitrogen, so that is extremely cold, close to minus 196 degrees. And for that, we can lower the temperature, and the lower you can go, the lower the temperature you can go, the higher increase you can get. So keep in mind, when you do overclock, you produce more heat. And when producing more heat, you need to dissipate that as much as you can, indeed. So that's about the MOA. Like everyone for the MOA was using liquid nitrogen to qualify, because it's a worldwide competition. It's there's more than 50,000 people doing that, that overclocking in general. But there's a lot of overclockers that do that extreme, like liquid nitrogen, like once a month, once a week, sometimes do that multiple times a week. So it's actually quite interesting to see and see the level of the people in these competitions.
Right. So Trouffman, you were saying most people. So to qualify for the MOA, you have to go through online qualifiers, which is actually very interesting, because overclocking is actually very different when you play it or practice it online, or when you do it actually in real life, in a physical event, for example. So we can have a quick look maybe at the structure of how MOA this year was working. So as you can see right now on the screen, so there was 2 main classes for MOA. You had the Class A and the Class B. So what Class A was about is those are regional qualifiers. So it means like there was 3 regions in the world. So you had America, APAC for Asia, and EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And those 3 regions were giving seats to the qualifiers, to the top guys of those regional qualifiers. So of course you have to be actually a citizen of those regions to be able to qualify. It's not because you are just there on a vacation, so you cannot just move around the region and just qualify as you could actually do, like if you would attend gaming events, right? You cannot just travel to somewhere and get a seat from there. So the way it worked, we had Class A starting first with America. So this was the first round of qualifier that kicked off. And at the same time, the Class B worldwide started as well. So the Class A ran for about a month. And during that month's time, the American guys had the time to go through the 3 benchmarks that were required to qualify. And those 3 benchmarks then at the end were giving you 4 seats for the worldwide finals. The same way it kept on going. The MEA started a few weeks later, so 2 weeks later in July. Again, 1 month, and then we had the 6 guys qualified for the worldwide finals. And then we had APAC, which started again two weeks later, beginning of August, and finished like 2 weeks ago now. And those guys qualified as well, and there was 5 seats for the APAC qualifiers. So Peter, what else could we say actually about those qualifiers?
So the Class A was mainly with high-end hardware. People had to use an X79 platform with it was a Z97 platform with the 290X Lightning graphics card.
So those are high-end components.
Yeah, the entry cost for a Class A is a lot higher than in the Class B. In the Class B, you also had to use a Z97 motherboard. You could also use a Z87, and it was with the Pentium G3258 processor.
So that's the anniversary edition.
That's the really cheap dual-core overclockable CPU compared to in Class A, where people had to use a $300 4770K or 4790K. Yeah. Another change in Class B is that you had to use the GTX 750 graphics card.
So that's a very mainstream graphics card, right?
It's a very mainstream platform to begin with. So the entry cost for Class B was a lot lower, and therefore we also saw a lot higher participation in Class B. There was a lot more people trying to compete for those top 3 spots global than there were actually for the Class A, where you could win a lot more tickets. Yeah,
that's true. Even though you had like 2 months and 5 benchmarks, that still people were more interested to play the odds at a way lower.
And we also saw that in the Class B, the competition was a lot tighter as well. But I think that's something that we will cover later on the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry for running ahead.
So Trouffman, when all this is leading to worldwide finals, when is the worldwide finals going to take place?
So the worldwide final going to take place in Taipei, Taiwan, in the hearth and the motherland of all the computing parts we are using, and that's going to be held on October 18th and 19th. So that's mid October. Stay tuned because we will be broadcasting the complete 2 days of the competitions. The first day gonna be a classic battle, so that's pretty much like the qualification run. There is a number of defined benchmark with point that each overclockers need to run. That's for the first day, and the second day should be like last year, like a kind of like a freestyle battle. So that's basically you have 10-12 benchmark. We don't know yet exactly what these benchmarks are, and you can bench pretty much whatever you want as long as it's MSI, the latest MSI hardware, and try to break some world record and find the best deal and find the best promotion for that.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. So let's take a quick break, and then we can go back over each of the qualifiers, because this show is actually about recapping all the qualifiers that happened. So what we are going to do in the next part is go through each of the qualifiers, tell you which were the most significant scores for each round and who qualified for the worldwide finals.
Cells dividing their forces. It's your call how you want to do this.
At the MSI Master Overclocking Arena, we're looking for the world's best overclocker. The best overclocking motherboard engineered to perfection. Introducing the latest MSI Z97 X-Power motherboard. Z97 X-Power. No limits.
All right, so you're watching the Road to MOA show, and now let's have a look at the Class A for the MOA qualifiers. So like we said before, each of the classes actually come with specific hardware requirement. That's how you also make a difference between the amount of seats that were given, for example, for the Class A, which were way higher than the Class B. So this is actually to make it a lot more challenging, and also as well like push up the actual standard and the actual like level of the competition way up from something that is a one-year-old platform to something that is actually the newest thing there. So Trouffman, in terms of hardware for Class A, what do we have exactly?
So for the Class A, that was the higher requirements hardware needs for these qualifications. You need to use the 97 mainboard from MSI. So that can be any of them. That can be the M Power, the X Power, the gaming board like this one I have here, like the X Power. I have it in the background. You need to use R9 series graphic cards from MSI, as there's the 270, 280, 290. The thing is, most of the guys switch to the 290X Lightning. That is a special AMD card from MSI. That card is designed especially for overclockers. And you need to use one CPU available on the market, so you cannot use any non-retail CPUs. Let's say like you cannot use engineering samples. So just for people that don't know, engineering samples are the CPU that are distributed to manufacturers before the official launch to test if the hardware is running perfectly on it. So the day of the launch, they know that it's going to be working. But it's not something you can buy by yourself. And sometimes there's some slight difference in the overclocking capabilities for this kind of CPUs. Overall, you can use any brand of SSD you want, any brand of memory you want, any brand of PSU you want, as long as you're using the mainboard from MSI, VGA from MSI, and a single CPU.
All right, so how much is a system like this, for example, would cost me if I wanted to participate, let's say next year, for example?
I did quite a small rundown if you want to try. So basically the main board is between 300 to 400 depending on which one you're taking. You need the CPU. The CPU is usually like over 300 bucks. Most of the guys use the 4770K or 4790K. The R9 290X Lightning is a bit above 550 US if I'm right. You need a good PSU, so at least 1000 watt PSU that can handle all the load. That's like almost 200 bucks. You need some good memories, so it's like 150, and you need some
liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, liquid nitrogen is actually a good expenses for that. The SSD is like 80
in total, bucks like without LN2, you're probably around 1,200 US, right?
Actually, I did calculate it. It's almost like 1,800. If you want a good setup, like if you buy everything off the shelf, it's 1,800 USD for qualifying the Class A.
That doesn't include the hardware that you need to buy to actually bin your components, because one CPU is not going to be the golden one, or one graphics card is not going to be the best one. So
because the way that's actually one of the tricky things about overclocking, right? It's like not all CPUs are both equal, right? Like so some of them are slightly better, a lot better, sometimes less. So you have to actually research quite a bit online also, which are the good batches, or some batches that actually seem to be better. So on the forums, people usually post their highest frequency and they write the number of the batch. So you can actually go to the shops and say, hey, do you have the CPU from that batch? And there's actually more, buying a CPU from a good batch gives you a more likely good chance of getting it.
It gives you a higher chance of finding a good CPU, but if you really want to compete at the top, you'll have to try multiple CPUs from that really great batch to actually find the one that is competitive.
But
it's quite an expense then.
That's the thing. The Class A was a huge requirement to enter, but you have to understand that if you buy everything, you have nothing and you have to buy everything, like the CPU pot, the container, you have to buy liquid nitrogen and so on. It's a huge amount, but most of the guys that did compete do own this kind of hardware for a long time, or they do spend that amount of money and they buy it, they test it, and they resell it after. So that's how they can keep on getting into this kind of class A qualifiers, if I would say.
I guess it's like every very expensive sport, right? For example, if you play golf, you would invest in very expensive clubs. If you're really taking it seriously to the professional level, you would just buy straight off the shelf the best thing, invest into it. Or like, for example, PSU we were talking about. You don't need to rebuy new PSU at every competition.
It's like in every other hobby, there's amateurs that just will spend a lot of money on the tools that they need to actually do their hobby. Like people buy very expensive bikes even though they don't ride professionally. So it's the same principle with overclocking.
Yeah, that's right.
And although overclocking, people say, "Oh, it's expensive." Yeah, talk about cars.
Well, for sure, it's nothing like comparing to buying a car for racing in the street, right? All right, so now let's switch to the actual qualifier phases and start with the American qualifier. So that qualifier started on July 1st and ended on July 31st. So 1 month's run. And so according to the specs we just listed below, so 8 guys competed in that qualifier. So most of those 8 guys are actually people we are used to seeing the overclocking.
I would say that the America's qualifier was kind of a slow start for MOA. It was the first month competition, as you said. North and South America competed in one competition, and as we already covered in this series a lot, only the best person per country can actually qualify to the grand final, with the exception of the USA, which was split in the Eastern and Western Conference.
Okay, so because there's a lot of inhabitants in the US, and that's also the pool of the most overclocking.
The largest overclocking community is in the United States of America.
So that's why it was decided to have to guarantee 2 seats in the case of people coming from both East and West. So in the end, we ended up with a ranking that is like you can see on the screen. So you have Arbuas first, Mike CDM, which is from the US second, Nacho Arroyo from Argentina, and Nidao from Brazil. So those 4 first guys are qualified for the worldwide final.
No. So because Nidao is from Brazil, so the next ticket actually went to Gunslinger, who finished a 7th place. Yeah. Because Red Max is actually from the same conference as Mike CDM. And then Gunslinger had a better 3D mark score than FTW. So it was
a bit confusing in here.
All the exceptions and all the rules that was kind of weird came together in this first qualifier.
And this is, I guess, it's playing. It's for sure gonna happen like this if you have a lower amount of participants and actually a few amount of regions, because it's not like in Europe where you have so many countries. Here, like in America, for example, if you count all the countries, excluding all the ones that didn't participate, and there's actually not that many countries left.
And even, this is the Class A we're talking about, right? So you already need a country which has the money to spend this kind of cash on hardware. So we have Canada, the United States, and then Brazil, but then in South America, usually the price that people pay for hardware components to overclock or to play with is a lot lower. So it makes sense that in the Americas qualifier, there's a less participation than other regions.
Yeah, and also probably maybe in some of the Nordic countries as well, like usually regulations for LM2 are also quite different. So this also impacts the amount of people that can actually pretend to bench at a very extreme level. So in terms of scores that we should highlight from this American qualifier, so we had a Super Pi run, we had a 3 Mark 03, and we had XTU, right? Firestrike Extreme, yeah. So which score should we actually highlight from those?
So if we look at the Super Pi scores, we see that Ronaldo Arbuas has the highest score, and the score is 4 minutes 54 with a CPU at 6.2 gigahertz, which is not that great compared to the overall database here at HWBOT. He has the 48th best 4770K Super Pi 32M, so it's not close to the top Hall of Fame or anything like that. If we move on to the 3D Mark 03 though, then we can already see that the quality is rising a lot. Ronaldo's score is 11th overall, so he won the 3D Mark 03 stage in MOA as well. 11th overall on HWBOT, which is already close to the top. Good, and we'll see later on the show the reason why he's 11th. Europe kind of dominated the 2 3D benchmarks.
Well, Ronaldo is quite famous in South America for being extremely good at 3D, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then if we move on to the Firestrike, to the Heaven Unigine Heaven benchmark, not the Firestrike Extreme. We can see that Ronaldo actually has the 8th best score in the world. So with 5,638 points, that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
We have to understand that this 8th place is not actually when you submit, but that's right now. So even after like more than a month and a half after the end of the competitions, there was 2 other qualifiers running on this benchmark that actually pushed that a bit to the thing.
Yeah, to the outer.
It's very simple. All the MOA Class A participants competed in this 3D Marco 3 and Heaven, Unigine, and SuperPi 32M stage. Yeah, so there was entire focus on these 3 benchmarks for the past 2 months.
This is also actually a good way for the company like MSI running such qualifiers on like every time the same benchmarks. A way of actually populate the top rankings with actually scores from their competition. So it gives actually a good highlight to the competition itself, but also to the hardware, because it's being really pushed and focused on for like a 2 months period time, for example, in this case. So if we switch now to the EMEA, so EMEA stands for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So we have all the countries from Europe as well as Africa, and for Africa we had actually only one country competing, right, which was South Africa. Yeah. So in this one we had very famous overclockers, like people we are used to see at previous MOA competitions, but also competitions as well. And here we have VV, so Extreme Addict from Poland, Zizolio from Denmark, Perica Barry from Montenegro, sorry, and Moose 83 from Germany, as well as Wizardy from France. So all those 6 guys are the ones that actually qualified for the MOA.
Yeah, and we can already see that in this qualifier, we don't have the problem of only selecting the best overclocker per country, because we have 6 different countries in the top 6 of the qualifier.
That's good. It's a multi-language selection.
Oh yeah.
So those guys were competing on the exact same benchmark as well. So if we are talking about relevant scores, for example, Extreme Addict would be someone that we should point out.
Well, he ran his Haswell CPU at 6.6 gigahertz, resulting in a 4-minute 40 second SuperPi 32M, which is, if we think back at the winning score of the Americas, 14 seconds faster than what Ronaldo or Bugas was scoring. 14 seconds in SuperPi 32M, that is a huge difference.
Yeah, we have to understand, like for you guys watching, it's exactly like running on the tracks, right? Yeah. It's like someone that is 3 seconds behind, for example, 2 seconds, it's a huge gap to actually fit. It's not like just like, oh, it's in sports, or like for example running, it would be months and months of practice and like a lot of training and things like that. For overclocking, it's actually, if your CPU might not be able to actually reach those higher frequency, this gap is impossible to fill, right?
Yeah, and the score of Extreme Addict is around the 12th position global as well, which is very interesting, because SuperPi 32M is, traditionally speaking, a highly contested benchmark, where all the focus is on well, it's both CPU overclocking and memory overclocking. So a lot of people, when they're trying to show how well they can tune the memory as well as the CPU, focus on SuperPi 32M. And scoring top 12 within MSI motherboard, it's great, it's amazing.
Yeah, so if we, for example, that's why when we look at, for example, Extreme Addict submissions, if we look at the pictures, you can see that actually the memory as well was under LN2.
Yeah.
So there's a small container that is mounted on the memory modules to cool those down, plus as well the CPU part on top, on the side of it. So we can actually cool both down with liquid nitrogen. So yeah, you can see it right now on the screen. So that's what I was saying. On the left, you have the LN2 part for the memory, and on the right, the CPU part for the CPU. So moving on to the next very interesting score. This one is from VV, and it's a score with 3 Marco 3.
And it's the world record.
And it's the world record, and it still is.
It still is the world record.
Yes.
I think if we look at the EMEA qualifier, both 3 Marco 3 and the Heaven were very exciting to follow, because it was not just one person dominating their ranking. There were, I think at a certain point, 4 different people came up to us and they said, "Hey, I have the world record, but I'm only going to post it at the very end of the competition." And then 4 people were convinced, "Oh, this is going to be a world record for me, very big exposure. Everyone's going to be super happy for me." But in the end, it's just Vivi who has the world record. Only one person can have the world record.
That's it.
For a very long time, it was Zizolio from Denmark who held the record in the 3 Marco 3. And if we look at the global ranking of 3 Marco 3 for single GPU graphics cards, we see that I think number 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all from EMEA.
Yeah, all from EMEA. And Zizolio is actually second, and also second in the EMEA.
Yeah.
Extreme Addict, which is also
third,
third.
So the top 3 of the 3 Marco 3 single GPU is MSI during the EMEA qualifier, which is amazing.
83 as well, right? Number 5th. It's also 5th in the EMEA.
Yeah.
So you could actually take the 3 Marco 3 ranking and say, okay, that's the EMEA ranking, pretty much. All right, so let's move on to the next score. And since we were talking about Zizolio, let's also talk about him right now, because he also impressed in the DirectX 11 Unigen benchmark.
Yeah, he won the Unigen Heaven, and it's also a world record. So the same story actually. Like in the 3 Marco 3 stage, in the Heaven stage, 4 people came up to us and said, "Hey, wow, I have the world record for this benchmark." No, only Zizolio has this world record. He scored 5,836 points with a R9 290X at 1625, 1775, which impressed everyone. Zizolio qualified for MOA last year through the Class B actually, and did quite well at the MOA final. But because he qualified through Class B and attended the grand final last year, he was not allowed to compete in Class B again this year.
Okay, so he had to actually
he had to move up a category and did incredibly well in the Class A.
That's very good. It's always nice to see the guys progressing in their OC career, pretty much. Like, okay, you have to impose that through the rulings and things like that. But I mean, like, it's always very nice to see the guys that we were seeing maybe benchmarking as an enthusiast a few years ago, enter MOA with the Class B last year, and then move on to the Class A.
I think, especially for Zizolio, when he came to MOA last year, he was kind of an outsider. Almost he wasn't a new face, but he was kind of new to the live overclocking competition scene, right? I think this year we might even call him one of the
challengers, probably
not of the favorites, but one of the outsiders for the MOA title.
Yeah, that's true. I remember we also saw him at Computex this year. He was here for the whole duration of Computex, benching here and there, taking part in live competitions. So it's for sure since last year MOA, which was his first big live overclocking event. Like, he had a lot of time to train and learn how to actually react and process during live events where the time is actually counted. And those guys become very efficient at actually benching live, right?
Yeah.
So, and Trouffman, I remember you had an interview with Vivi, like, since I remember that we were talking about all those records in the back that everyone was trying to hide and keep for themselves. You had an interview with Vivi and Zizolio. How did that went?
Actually, it was quite fun because I was interviewing them before the end of the qualification, because we had the show just like 12 hours, 24 hours after the end of the qualifiers. So I was asking Vivi, and I was asking like most of the guys that did that were competing in these qualifiers, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I have the world record, but I haven't told anyone. I'm just keeping that under the radar." So I said I have the world record, but I didn't say the score I have. So I talked with Zizolio. Like an hour after, I talked with Vivi, and both told me exactly the same thing. I have the world record, and I know I can win. And both were like, damn, the other one have a bigger score than me. So it was actually quite fun to see that at the last minute they were like, no, I have a bigger score, no, I have a bigger one. And that's back to the game. No, I have a bigger one. That's all about overclocking.
Yes, you have to imagine all this is happening either on forums or on private messages on Facebook, or people just sharing pieces of screenshots of, oh, I'm benching again for MOA, look, and stuff like that. So people are always like, oh, okay, this guy's doing this, and like we were saying, like Vivi was saying, a week before the actual final, no one is talking anymore. It's like just like, okay, I'm just gonna keep it low profile. I don't want anyone to re-bench or anything like that, so I'm gonna keep it to myself. So now let's move to the APAC qualifiers. So those were the Asia Pacific regions, and also include countries such as New Zealand and Australia. And for this one, we actually had a few interesting and nice surprises. So we had 12 overclockers participating, and we also had the chance of seeing a few new faces in there.
Especially the winner of the APAC competition is someone we have not seen on the live global scene. It's Rodi from Indonesia, and I think he's one of the disciples of Alva, Jonathan Lucky Noob. So Lucky Noob helps. Lucky Noob works for JaggedReview.com. Is an Indonesian overclocker who attended many MOAs before.
Oh, actually, probably all of them. Yeah. I remember seeing him in 2008. So he was. I think he did all the MOAs.
He actually won in 2008.
Yes, he did.
So he's training a new generation of Indonesian overclockers through MOA, helping out with how to set up the hardware, how to overclock, all the tips and tricks, how to get more efficient. He's also doing an amateur overclocking competition, which will be covered later on in another OCTV episode. For sure. So Rodi is one of his disciples, and he won the competition with 1 point more than OC Windforce, the winner of last year. I think the winner of the world record stage.
Yeah, and OC Windforce won MOA 2013 actually.
2012.
2012. Yeah.
Okay, so very interesting stuff, and it's actually also interesting that Alva is not competing anymore, but he's playing the manager position now.
Yeah. So if we go down the line, we have D4Doc from China, and then we have Royal Flush again from Indonesia, eliminated because he's not the best overclocker from Indonesia.
One per country rule, right?
Exactly. And then we have Bob and Z from New Zealand, obviously, and Sniper Oz from Australia.
So those guys have nicknames that state the country. That makes it easier than reading the flags when you're bad with flags. So talking about interesting scores for the APAC qualifier, we have D4Dog, which is an overclocker from China, and he scored a very interesting SuperPi score. Yeah,
he scored 4 minutes 38 seconds, which is 2 seconds faster than Extreme Addict at a stunning 6.68 gigahertz. And the 4 minutes 38, that is top 10 SuperPi 32M overall, which is very, very impressive.
Right, so for example, people like that have CPUs that are that good, can we expect those guys to bring those CPUs, for example, to the freestyle final part of the finals, or is that something that is not allowed, for example?
In the freestyle part, it's going to be allowed. Obviously, in the classic battle, it's not going to be allowed now.
Okay, because when you own a CPU like that and like a set of CPU plus memory that are actually really good together, you can expect that this is not the only limit, right? Those guys are going to push further in every benchmark.
You don't even know if this is their best CPU, because a lot of the top overclockers have really amazing CPUs and a couple of backups. So for competitions, if they will pull out their best CPU if necessary.
If there's money to win, for example. Right?
But save it if they can use the backup or their second or third backup CPU.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's very cool. So now let's move on to the next interesting one, and this one is from Rodi actually.
Yeah.
And he scored 254,440 marks on his Redon Align 290X.
Yeah, that's top 10 overall.
Wow. So for someone that is still very new to the...
We don't know. Yeah, it's difficult to put his scores in perspective because we never seen him really perform live, so we don't know how he's going to do on a live stage.
When you have limited time, a bit of pressure,
and we don't know how many graphics cards did he bin for this score, how hard he worked. Because that's all. There's not really that much communication about how much hardware they use. So well, winning the APAC competition is already it's a really big achievement.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Actually, I expect something good from Rodi.
Yeah,
I really want him to do well.
With the right mentorship and the good preparation, there's big chances of actually being able to do something pretty good. And I'm pretty sure actually his mentor Alva will be there at the MOA to manage,
to prepare him and guide him through the competition. Yeah.
Right.
And if we move on to the Heaven score, OC Windforce won that round, scored 5,595 points, which is top 10 overall. But as we've seen before, the two 3D rankings were dominated by the EMEA qualifiers.
Yeah, those guys had just insane cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the most highlight scores to be highlighted in the actual Class A qualifier series. What I'm suggesting is that we take a quick break before we move on to the Class B.
MSI, leading the game.
No one gets left behind!
MSI not only provides gamers the ultimate gaming gear, but also fulfills the passion to achieve their ultimate ambitions. In 2009, MSI initiated the Top Player, Top Choice sponsorship program and has now sponsored more than 10 highly recognized professional esports teams worldwide. MSI Beat It is a world-famous gaming tournament for gamers to polish their gaming skills and let them stand out on the global stage. With the spirit of Dragon Army, MSI ensures that gamers not only have the best, but the future of gaming in the palm of their hands. Gaming Motherboard. Gaming Notebook. Gaming Graphics Card. Gaming All-in-One PC. Gaming Barebone. MSI is committed to producing the most innovative hardcore performance hardware, enabling the ultimate computing experience for gamers. Top player, top choice.
Welcome back to the Road to MOA show on the OverClocking-TV Twitch channel, and today we're having our 5th episode, actually reviewing the whole qualifier process to the MOA competition, as well as giving you some more details about the actual worldwide finals that are going to take place in mid-October in Taiwan. So with me today, just as a quick recap, I have Peter from HWBOT and Trouffman over there on the other side in Montreal. So we were talking just previously about the Class A qualifiers, so now let's switch to the Class B. And for this qualifier phase, hardware requirements were quite different, right, Trouffman?
Yeah, indeed. For the Class B, it was much easier to enter and it was costing much less. We're talking about like $1,800 US dollars to enter in Class A, but for Class B, it's much lower. So the kind of hardware you had to use to qualify was you need to use an MSI mainboard, either Z97 or Z87. So that's actually from last year, the hardware from last year. You had to use a G3258 CPU, and that CPU is a very special one. That's the Intel Pentium Anniversary Edition. This is the only CPU that is not a K CPU that have unlock multiplier. And unlock multipliers allow you to reach higher frequencies in a much easier way. And that CPU is like 70 to 80 US dollar in terms of price. So as you can see, it's like much easier to get a $70 CPU rather than a 301 or a 501 CPU. You had to use although a GeForce GTX 750 from MSI, the graphic cards. Most of the guys did use the gaming card because that was the one you can have. There's no lightning card for the 750, so that was actually a kind of hardware that you can get on the store very easily for this. The price is about $150 to $180 depending where you buy it. There's also the TI version, but the TI version was not allowed in this qualifier.
Alright, so much cheaper hardware set to compete, which meant in the end a lot more people in that specific qualifier. So they had 2 months to qualify, but there was a few more benchmark than the other ones. We had Superbike 32M, Cinebench XTU, 3 Macro 3, so that's the one we also had in the other qualifiers, 3 Mark Firestrike, and that's it. So yes. I was about to add one more, but there's no one more, so only 5. Okay, so more benchmarks, more time, cheaper setup, more people. That's an all win, right?
Yeah, well summed up.
Yeah, so in this qualifier we had exactly 24 people competing, and when you have so many people competing, the amounts of points that are available are just like distributed a lot throughout the rankings, and it's actually, you have to be a much more competitive if you want to reach the top spot, especially if only the top 3 in this case actually lead to the worldwide final.
Yep. Well, that's what we saw exactly, right? For example, if we compare place 2 and 3, there's only 2 points in between place 2 and 3,
so
and then
much.
Yeah, and then if you actually go and look at the stage rankings, a small change in that ranking can actually have a big effect on the overall ranking. So in the end, who won the competition? Dr. Weiss from South Africa, which means that we have 2 people from South Africa in this MOA Grand Final. Steponzi from the USA, which means 3 people from the US, and then B-Boy Jazz from Indonesia, which means 2 people from Indonesia as well.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And even if we look here, for example, at the 4th, 5th, and 6th position, sadly they don't win a ticket to the worldwide finals, but those guys are all within 5 points.
Yeah,
so it's
a very
extremely tight.
And I mean, most of the competitors are people that we've already seen active online a lot, so they're mostly the same faces, but also a couple of new people to the scene. For example, Madro from France.
Yes,
he's been online active for a while, but it's one of the first time that we've seen him compete at this high level in a competition. For example, Bullshooter is someone we saw last year at Compitex as well. Hero from China is a very well-known overclocker. And then we have a couple of new guys, for example, Fatboy Not So Slim from Australia. He's been active on HWBOT for a long time as well, but for the first time entering this kind of a high-profile competition.
Seems you have a couple of Italians as well.
We have Barbonet, who is the leader of the Extreme League in HWBOT. Actually, we have Delhi, who used to participate in MOA, I think 2011 or something like that.
Yeah, I remember. it was 2011 and 2010 as well. That were the MOAs where we were in Paris, right?
Yes.
So those guys are kind of back, right? We hadn't seen them for the last 3 years or so, and now they're back into the competition.
And if we look at the global map of Class B participants, we can see they're from every region basically. We have Canada, we have the USA, we have a lot of people from Europe, even Bulgaria, we have a Czech Republic, and then people from Indonesia, from Taiwan, from Korea.
Yeah,
a lot of nationalities playing and competing in this Class B qualifying.
And it seems because the hardware requirement were lower, more people actually even just tried it. Because usually what we can see, for example, if we look at the American qualifier, a lot less people competed, but it's also because it's really hard to actually get in there. If here you are looking at hardware that is for example, from last year, and then you can just buy the CPU, which is pretty much from June, and this one costs not that much. You can buy one of them, so if you break or anything, then it's not that much of a problem. People are more inclined of actually trying when it's a bit cheaper, right?
So let's go to the scores, and the first one we can look at is Steponzi with a SuperPi 32M of 4 minutes and 51 seconds with a CPU clock that's 6.4 gigahertz almost. Right now, this is the 4th best Pentium G3258, but at the time of the competition, it was actually the best score for the Pentium CPU.
So I remember when we were doing the live, we were talking about the actual frequency of that CPU, and this is a plus 98.9 overclock in percentage of overclocking on the CPU.
So the frequency of the CPU almost doubled, and it's stable through a 5-minute benchmark.
So it means this is the kind of CPU clocked slightly low you could use for 24/7 setup.
Yeah.
On the LN2 for you. In this case,
we have to make the note though that the Pentium G3258, even though it's overclockable, it's still a low bin in the Haswell-E.
So and it is still a 2-core CPU. And
but what I'm trying to say is that it's not because you go from a 4-core to a 2-core that all of a sudden you'll be able to overclock a lot higher.
Oh, yeah,
the silicon quality of the Pentium is always going to be lower than that of the 4770K, for example.
That's how anyway that made the difference in the actual. Like series of processors going all the way to ISM, which is the high end, right? So moving.
If we move on to the Cinebench score, we can find Hero from China, and traditionally Chinese overclockers have always been very good in finding the highly overclockable CPUs. We assume it's because
there's a way there probably. Those guys have either the right place to get their processors, so either big distributors that have access to a huge amount of CPUs from one specific batch, or you can maybe, I don't know, order a specific batch. I don't know actually how it works. And so this is why they actually have high access to those very good CPUs.
Yeah. So he scored 476 points in Cinebench R15, which is currently still the best score for that Pentium CPU. Overclocked to almost 6.2 gigahertz, 92% overclock, stable with 2 cores.
Right. So that's actually the perfect kind of CPU you would be looking for actually moving on to 3D. Right?
Yeah. So then we move on to Dr. Wee's 3 Mark 03, and if you remember correctly, the first 2 stages closed earlier on in the competition after I think
after 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. And then the 3D Mark 03 and the XTU ones closed a little bit later. So after the closure of the first 2 competitions, a lot of people considered, well, they could quit the competition because they scored.
They were seeing what the others had.
Well, they saw what the others had, plus they already lost so many points in the first 2 stages that there was no real purpose of them continuing the competition.
Yeah, you might not even make up for the points. So it's no.
And the 3D stages are significantly more difficult than the 2D stages because you not only have to master the CPU overclocking but also the VGA overclocking. So if we look at Dr. Wee's from South Africa, he managed to overclock the GTX 750 graphics card to 2053 megahertz on the core frequency. That's over 2 gigahertz.
This is huge for such a graphic card, actually.
Well, it's a teeny tiny like, mainstream card. It doesn't have a beefed up PWM power delivery. It's just a really tiny card, and he can clock it stable to over 2 gigahertz core frequency.
Talking about PWM and like power delivery, so all those guys had to mod this card to get kind of like scores, kind of like this, right?
Yeah. So what you can do is you can solder an external power delivery modification to the graphics cards. The amazing thing is, for this core, didn't even need it.
Yeah, because like you can see on the picture, if you usually solder additional power phases and all that stuff, you have an extra like PCB coming on the side of the card, which is soldered like in a kind of a gorilla style, zombie style kind of card. And it doesn't look good, but it looks also amazing as well. And in that case, there's nothing. It's just insulation you can see, and that's it.
Well, the thing about
a few VMODs though, you can see the.
Oh yeah, you have to have a voltage modification to increase the graphics. The voltage of the GPU. Now, keep in mind that the GTX 750 is actually Maxwell architecture, which is what the next generation of high-end graphics card is going to have. So if you think about the fact that they don't need an external power delivery to hit more than 2 gigahertz on the graphics card, you can already start applying this to the more higher-end series.
Like a few months from now.
It basically means that the GP core, the Maxwell GP core, doesn't consume that much power.
Doesn't heat as well. Probably a lot less as well, right?
So imagine what this will bring for the 980 GTX.
Well, we're going to see that probably around November-ish, I suppose.
We're going to see it soon. Very soon. Anyway, moving on. If we look at the 3D Mark 03 category for the GTX 750, we see that all the top scores were actually performed in this Class B qualifier for MSI. So MSI dominating that ranking again.
Yeah, total domination.
So if you move on to XTU, XTU is a Cinebench-like benchmark. It's multi-threaded, but also heavily dependent on the memory. We see that B-Boy Jazz from Indonesia has a top score with 455 points, with a CPU at 6.15 gigahertz.
So that's a record as well on that benchmark with the CPU. And there's also higher than 90% overclocking on the CPU. So it's pretty impressive as well. So those guys, for example, from Jagged Review, you can see on the HWBOT, they have pictures, and you actually have a view of their lab. So that's pretty cool. It's always nice to see not just the setup, but actual place where the magic happens, I would say. And this is like the really cool picture where you can't see the floor anymore. You just have LN2 smoke all over the place, and this is just
I visited the Jagged OC lab last year in a trip around Southeast Asia, and it's actually a pretty enjoyable place to be. There's a lot of hardware scattered around. There's a lot of LN2 available. I like their setup. Yeah, they take things very professionally. Actually,
it's a good way to inspire more people to actually do that on a regular basis.
There's enough room for people to just come in and test out the LN2 overclocking, test out their CPUs, and then see if they want to continue or not.
It's actually quite fun because they always have some kind of figurines We know that Alva is having some anime figurines, and here on the
those guys are fun,
B-Boy is wearing like some kind of Goddamn wings or Transformer thing, like from some animes. So it's actually quite fun to see them.
Yeah, it's always cool. Like I like it. Gives a kind of, it personalizes your submissions when you add a picture like this. That is sure you have the hardware and all the installation, all the craziness, but you also have like that little thing of extra that proves this is your score. This is my thing, right? So moving out to the next noticeable score from that round is the one from Dr. Wies. So Dr. Wies, which ended up actually winning the Class B qualifier.
So Dr. Wies already won the 3D Marco 3 stage, and then everyone expected him to also win the Firestrike the regular one, which is in the end what happened. He scored 5,331 points, which is exactly 30 points more than Stepanzi, the second of the Firestrike stage, as well as the second in the competition. Yeah, and again he clocked over 2 gigahertz core frequency.
And same as you were saying before, the actual rankings for that benchmark with this graphics card are totally ruled by the competition participants. Yeah. So this is another amazing thing.
Domination.
So this is actually a pretty cool card to get, I guess, if you want to get started with 3D overclocking and you don't want to spend a fortune on something really like breaking through the roof. This is the kind of card that actually...
you don't need that much electrical knowledge, actually, since apparently an external graphics PWM is not necessary. Yeah,
that's the kind of perfect card that goes in a very good combination with the G3258 CPU. So that's about it. I think that's what we can say for now about the regional qualifiers. So for Class B, the top 3 guys are actually qualifying, and now we could actually make a list of everyone going to the worldwide finals. So there will be in total 18 guys coming out of the qualifier phases, so both Class A and Class B combined. Most of the guys, like we were saying, are the people that we are used to see in those competitions, but there's also a few new faces, which is pretty good. So if we look for America, we have Abuas from Brazil, we have Mike CDM from the US, Nacho Arroyo from Argentina, and Gunsinger from the US. So those 4 guys will be representing America regions in the finals in Taipei. Moving on to EMEA, we have
Vivi from South Africa, Extreme Addict from Poland, Zizolio from Denmark, Pericha Bari from Montenegro, Moose83 from Germany, Wizardly from France, and then the qualified champion from last year, Tolsty from Ukraine.
So every year MSI re-invites the winner of the past year by default qualified for this year, and he cannot actually compete in the qualifiers. He just has to go straight.
Well, he doesn't have to compete in the qualifiers.
I mean, like he could, right? But there's no need.
There's no point. No.
Yeah. So that's always cool. And Tosi is actually an awesome dude. He is very focused on his overclocking. I mean, like when this guy is benching, it's really serious stuff going on. There's no joking or messing around. Or sometimes, you know, the guys when they're getting stressed, they just kind of do some crazy stuff. And this guy is like very focused, and it's pretty amazing. So I think this year again we can expect some pretty serious overclocking from his side to defend his title as the champion of MOA. Moving on to the APAC region, we had Rodi from Indonesia. So this is the kind of new face of this MOA. We have OC Windforce from Korea, which was already competing last year in the MOA and the year before, and they actually were winning the year before as well. He was, back then, MOA was a team competition, so it was not in the individual overclockers competing. He was teaming us with his friend, Little Boy from Korea as well. So those guys are very strong players as well. We have D4Dog from China that we have seen in some previous events this year already, like at Computex. And we also have, I lost myself in the list.
D4Dog?
Yeah. D4Dog? D4Dog, yeah. Bob and Zed from New Zealand, and of course Sniper Oz from Australia. So those guys are there to represent all the Class A and all the actually very strong faces of this qualifier. And then moving on to Class B, we have
South Africa represented by Dr. Wies, and then Stepanzi from the USA, B-Boy Jazz from Indonesia.
So that's a lot of people, and it's going to be quite interesting to see those 19 guys rolling down in Taipei and like having fun at the actual MOA Worldwide Finals, which I tell you it's going to happen on 18 and 19 of October. So book the date and make sure you tune in on the stream on those days, because This is going to be very serious stuff, and it's going to be extremely fun. So Peter, what else can we say about those contestants? I mean, like in terms of expectations of who is going to perform the best among those 19 guys. What will be your top 5 selection for them?
It's going to be, the competition is, it's going to be like last year, where you have a classic battle where everyone has the same hardware, and then you have a no limits part where anyone can basically, they can use their own hardware. So if we talk about the classic battle, it's always a matter of if you get a good CPU or not. Also of the overclockers here, they know how to overclock, right? And then it's in a limited time frame, how quickly can they determine, okay, this is going to lead somewhere or this is going to not lead anywhere. If you ask me, I think Vivi and Extreme Addict, they've been at the very top of the HWBOT rankings for a very long time. They are the favorites, I think, for this competition. Cizolio, because he did so extremely well in the qualifier, I expect a lot from him. But then we have Gunslinger as well, who's pro OC. He's very very talented overclocker. OC Windforce, obviously, he won 2 years ago. We have Tolsty, who won last year. So we have the champions of the 2 previous editions. It's going to be a very tough competition.
Yeah, it's going to be very intense. And Trouffman, what about you? Who would you expect to see in the top 5?
I was actually thinking with the 19 people competing, it's very difficult to have, and that level is very difficult to have like a favorite in that. I do have actually some expectation from Vivis again, because we know he is used to bench in the live overclocking competitions. Extreme Addict is the same, depending on how he concentrates on the during the competition as well. I do expect more from Extreme Addict from the freestyle rather than the classic battle, when I do expect a lot from Vivi on the classic battle.
All right. So
what about you?
That's it. Me, I have my personal favorite. I mean, like every year I'm a strong supporter of Indonesia. I think since the beginning of MOA, I always have been very impressed by what those guys are doing and how the way they practice OC, but also the way they actually qualify every year and ensure the show. And I mean, like last year we had some pretty awesome time when Lucky Noob was breaking live some of the scores. So it was just amazing. I also expect a lot from Arbuas from Brazil. I mean, this guy, he's known for being I think to me, one of the most hardcore 3D benchers out there, along with the guys from Team AU, for example, like Young Pro and all those guys. And I think this year we might see him shine as well in the classic battle as well than the freestyle battle. Last year we saw him a lot in the freestyle because he had a passion for heaven, and he benched the benchmark for like 6 or 7 hours in a row non-stop. But yeah, I think those guys will be in my top selection.
Arbuas had bad luck with the hardware last year, so he couldn't really defend himself in the classic battle. But if he has good hardware this year, why not? He's definitely in the same pool of talent as VV, as Gunslinger, as Extreme Addict.
Yeah, so very high profile competition.
Actually, the competition is very, very high profile. If you look at the lineup, this is going to be a very, very intense competition. There's a lot of talent in that one room.
So since we're talking about the WOT qualifiers, we've been to the venue. Well, I've been to the venue along with the guys from MSI. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a quick break, and we will be back with some pictures and videos of what the venue is going to look like for this lady. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Forces, it's your call how you want to do this.
At the MSI Master Overclocking Arena, we're looking for the world's best overclocker. The best overclocking motherboard engineered to perfection. Introducing the latest MSI Z97 X-Power motherboard. Z97 X-Power. No limits.
Welcome back to the Road to MOA show, and this is a show by OverClocking-TV, and today we are recapping the whole qualifier process of the MOA 2014 competition series, I should call it like this. And we also, now moving on to our next point, the venue. So this year's finals are going to take place in Taipei on the 18th and 19th of October. And for the occasion, I went with MSI 2 weeks ago to visit the venue. I'm always excited visiting venues because you get a feel of what event is going to be like before the actual event takes place. And so last year I could not go to see the venue before, so it's I kind of had the surprise the day before when I was setting up. But this year I could see it before, and you can see in your head, oh, this is how it's going to be, and this is how how it's going to feel like, And actually this year the location is pretty great. So right now if you're looking at the video, you can actually see what the venue is looking like. So this is when I was walking around it, and it's very simple venue. It is a very long room, and so the overclockers are all going to be lined up facing each other, which is going to be great. And it's in the heart of Taipei. I mean, like, this is the actual CBD pretty much of Taipei. It's really close to the 101. You have a kind of like a rooftop place where we can go out and chill during the breaks.
We've been living in Taipei for, I've been living here for 2 years, and you moved here, I think 6 months ago, in December.
Already more.
And then you lived here for a year as well for city. So we kind of know the areas, and the venue of last year was way out of the city.
It was way out of the city,
You need like a long cab ride. This one is right in the middle of Taipei, I mean, and there's plenty of bars around. There's
plenty of bars,
those streets around.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be really, really good. Like the venue is perfect. There's an awesome internet. So the streaming, we should be able to actually stream in full HD this time instead of 720p. So more quality, more everything, more everything.
More everything, more epicness.
So yeah, Trouffman, you that are discovering those pictures, and what do you actually think about it if you compare it to your experience from last year?
I am actually quite not impressed. Yes, I'm actually quite excited to go back there because, as you say, last year it was a bit outside of the city, and this is going to be right in the center. Although that's it's not a closed room completely, so we have some space outside we can go. I know that some of the guys like to smoke a bit too much, so they can go out.
It's actually forbidden to smoke on that rooftop.
Oh, perfect! So no one's gonna smoke.
So you have to actually go downstairs the building. This is for your health, guys. Smoking is bad, so don't do it.
Don't smoke; it's bad. And yeah, of course, I'm quite excited. I actually had some ideas about the floor plan, like how it's gonna look like. It's gonna be like all the way down. Like they might have some stage in the background. That's actually quite interesting to see this kind of venue to be there.
So talking about floor plan, we do have some idea of what the actual layout for the competition is going to look like, because we have access to all those pre-show things, and we actually decided to just leak the plan today because it's actually awesome. This plan is not totally final, so it's gonna give you an idea of what it's gonna be like, but yeah. So Trouffman, maybe you can pull up the plan, or if you have the plan.
Yeah, I have the plan somewhere. We'll just show you. So this is not final. This is actually a preview thing.
Yeah, that was the first draft of how the venue layout is going.
That's what we do expect that they're gonna do in this room, and that's gonna be looking pretty much like this.
Yeah.
With table on the on each side, you can see like all the overclockers will be in the middle, where everyone's gonna be on the side. So that's gonna be actually quite interesting to have all the overclockers facing each other. Usually in the past it used to be a bit more different. Like everyone was spread around in the room. So sometimes you had people on one side, or they're all standing in circle, or they're all standing in two big lines. So this way, like facing each other, it's gonna be looking like a bit more like the HWBOT OC gathering we had in June.
That's true. Actually, now you mentioned it, Peter is here. Like this layout of people facing each other while they're benching reminds of how we had the layout for the HWBOT gathering, right?
I would say that's a good evolution then. Well, I have to ask though, because I saw where HWBOT was sitting, and I think I'll have to upgrade my seating area. I wonder if I can get a different class.
Well, we already proposed to MSI to organize a few tweaks on the layout to have, for example, the live stream not being next to the LN2 tanks. That's always nice. And a few things like that, just to, well, it's always cool to have your feet being chilled during the whole event, but you know, LN2 tanks do make a lot of noise. So
I'd like to sit somewhere else and really deep in the corner.
Yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. As you can see, that they have some big screens all around the venue. So this is going to be, I think, also a very nice evolution from last year, because last year there was only one screen and everyone always had to look around to that one screen where you had the scores. This time all around the place there are screens, so people can actually just look up and pretty much see what the current rankings or scores are like, or things like that. So that's going to be really, really good. That being said, let's go back to the actual competition structure, and we have to say one thing about it. It's that the structure right now, it is not completely final, right? What we have in terms of information is that there's going to be a classic battle like last year. There's going to be a freestyle battle kind of like last year, but we don't know right now the benchmarks that are locked in for those, and we don't know how the points are going to be calculated yet.
So if you look at the evolution of MOA, MOA, they try to find the best overclockers on MSI hardware, and for a very long time the way to do it was they pick 3 benchmarks, and then they set a couple of baseline scores, and then the performance gain over those baseline scores, based on that you calculate how good the overclocker was, and in the end whoever had the best performance gain over those 3 benchmarks was the MOA champion. Last year, for the first time, MSI included a so-called no limits battle, which was a freestyle overclocking competition where you would actually win prizes based on the world records that you're breaking. And this year, it's going to be the same 2 things. We're going to have the classic battle plus this no limits battle, this freestyle battle. But obviously, you can expect the competitions to be more interconnected. So instead of having 2 separate rankings, there's going to be 1 ranking. How the different competition styles are balanced and weighed against, that is, well, I wouldn't say it's not confirmed yet, but it's not published yet. It's not available for the public yet. The last items still need to be fine-tuned. But I mean, you can expect something similar to last year, where you can bring your own hardware, and then based on the records you break, you get a certain amount of points in your overall competition ranking. But it's for sure that the overclockers this year will not only have to focus on that competition, that classic battle with the equal hardware. They're also going to have to show themselves on a global level compared to all the other overclockers in the world in that no limits battle. Because, and this is also reinforced by the fact that this year prize money for the actual ranking you get in the competition is going to be an overall prize money on the overall ranking. So it's not going to be like last year where you had a prize pool for the classic battle and a different prize pool for the actual no limit battle. This year is going to be like prize pool as a for your overall ranking, right?
Well, so far that's actually rumors about that. So we are waiting.
We do have the information about the prize pool, so that's why we kind of conclude that it's going to be like a unified prize pool for the unified ranking at the end. So so this is going to be interesting, and we can already actually talk about money, because when you compete in a competition like that, you always like to know how much you can actually win. And for this year, there's about $15,000 of cash prize available up for grabs for the MOA.
Yes, and compared to last year and all the previous years before that, it was only the top 3 that could win cash prizes. This year, top 5. And if you finish 5th in this competition, you already get $1,500.
Yeah, so this already covers your hardware for qualifications plus a bit of LN2 and stuff like that. So it is actually a pretty interesting amount of money for 5th place, and this can you can already see where we are going to for 1st place. So 4th place is going to be $2,000, 3rd place $2,500, and then it gets really interesting. 2nd place $4,000. So here we are talking about paying back all your qualifications costs. It pays you back all the hardware you actually might have invested into the freestyle or no limit battle, because in that one you can actually bring some of your gear. So those guys that are going to bin specific things, once the benchmarks are announced, they will be able to prepare for the hardware. And then the first place would be $5,000. That's the biggest total prize pool for an OC event as a standalone thing so far, right?
For MOA, it is the 15,000. Well, if we look at,
as
for
a
example,
single competition thing,
the Intel competition
yeah.
had a lot more cash, and then if we think,
the
G Skill
one,
had 10,000 plus.
There was plus for the records, right?
So 15,000 is up there. Actually, I think we can quickly pull up our table. There's a table on HWBOT with the listing of the competition prizes.
So on that table, you can see how the competition ranked by amount of cash prize money available. So this is a good way to actually see. We can see an evolution of competition prize pool over the years, like kind of a history. The same way you have it, for example, for gaming on the, what is the name of that site where you can get the prize pool per competition or per actual tournaments and things like that. And this is exactly kind of the same thing.
So if we look at, for example, the HyperX OC takeover this year will have, it's already announced, $15,000.
Yep.
The MSI 2011 had $15,000 as well, but that was spread over the grand final and 3 qualifiers. And then the Intel Corsair OC main event from last year was 20,000 in total. And then the Intel OC Challenge from this year was $25,000. So it's the third most expensive overclocking final.
So, and if you look at this, it adds up to the amount of money in overclocking for competitive overclocking this year to another level, which is record-breaking compared to the previous years. Right?
And if we look at the total amount of prize money that MSI has given away in the MSI MOA series, we are now crossing the line of $70,000 over the course of the past 7 years, which makes MOA actually the most high value competition series, live competition series ever.
Yeah, that's right. So very interesting worldwide final ahead. And Trouffman, do you have anything to add about those? This prize pool, the venue, or the actual structure for the worldwide finals?
I do expect a very tight battle. I think that's gonna be like 2 days of extreme commenting, extreme live, with all the few settings we're gonna have, and the special broadcast we're gonna be doing on October 18th and October 19th. I think that's gonna be quite well. I mean, the guys will be pushing as much as they can to be in top 5, and those people are gonna be pushing as much as they can to be in the top 2. So that's gonna be very very tight battle, and that's gonna be although very interesting point to see how the strategy gonna be in this qualifier after the qualifier for this final in Taipei, Taiwan.
Yeah. So now that we've been over the worldwide finals, which was the last topic of our stream today, we have to move on to the part that probably all the people left on the stream now are waiting for. This is the moment of the giveaway. But before we actually give you the winner of last episode's giveaway, let's take a quick break. Welcome back to the Road to MOA show, and now it's time for our giveaway, and this is going to be a very interesting one because this is the giveaway for the Z97 M-Power motherboard by MSI. So this is the one that we have just right there behind Peter, actually. Peter, you might have to rotate a little bit. Yep, over there on the shelf. So this motherboard is up for grabs this week, and we do have a winner. We have nearly 1,800 entries in that one. So if you win, you actually.
What was the What was the question for this giveaway?
Oh yeah, so the question was how many people participated in the APAC qualifiers. So Trouffman, how much was that?
I don't know. It was 12, 18. How much was there?
It was 12 actually.
Well, if it was 18 and Trouffman did not win this giveaway.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, I lost.
So yeah, 12 was the right answer, and our winner for this giveaway is sorry, I don't want to break up your name, so I'm gonna say Temujin. I hope that's fine. TD, that's your whole name by initials. So congratulations, you won the motherboard. I'm gonna send you an email today and take contact with you to get your details and ship that to you as quickly as possible. So congratulations, but stay tuned, we have now another giveaway because it never ends and there's giveaways all the ways to MOA. So this week giveaway is actually one of my my favorite giveaways so far because I'm a big fan of everything that is small, like mini ITX and all those kind of small form factor hardware. And this week we have a mini ITX gaming graphics card up for grabs. So this is the MSI Mini ITX Gaming Radeon R9 270X. So it's actually a pretty cool card if you're mounting yourself like a if you're building yourself like a home entertainment system on which you actually want to play games from time to time. That's actually a perfect card for it. So to enter this giveaway, it is exactly the same than in the previous weeks. Someone is going to steal the card. In the previous week, go over to facebook.com/overclocking-TV and there's a tab called giveaway number 5. Open that one and answer the question. And for this week's question, the question is, how much money is there available in the MOA 2014 Worldwide Finals? I mean the total amounts, not for the first place, I mean from 1st to 5th. We just talked about it before, so yeah. If you don't remember, this video will be uploaded very soon to YouTube as a replay, so stay tuned and just watch that again.
I'm pretty sure we've mentioned it before.
We did mention it.
I think we've mentioned it before.
We mentioned it once, I think, or twice.
Well, yeah,
well, we mentioned it enough, I think.
I think so, yeah. You just take your calculator and it should be fine.
Is it a 5-figure amount or 6 figures?
4 figures.
Suspense.
Yeah. Just try to figure it out.
Figure it out. And don't forget, if you invite your friends to enter actually the giveaway as well, this gives you one more entry to the giveaway. So if you notice you made a mistake or whatsoever, or actually just want to have more chances of winning, just invite as much possible of your friends to enter that giveaway as well and get more chances to win. So this is it for this week's giveaway. We are looking forward to see you guys for another show because this is not finished, and let's announce the show in a few seconds. Stay tuned.
And you're live.
Right, welcome back to the Road to MOA show, and now we are finishing off with announcing our next event or next live podcast. So MOA is, like I said, on the 18th and 19th of October, but we decided to host one more show before the whole goodness of MOA is starting, and this show is going to be on October 12th. So this is actually also a Sunday evening for the guys in America, and it is a Monday morning for the people in Asia. This is going to be exactly the same time as today. So 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. On the West Coast.
Pacific Time?
Pacific Time, that's it, PDT, right? And for us over here in Asia, it's going to be 9:30 a.m. GMT +8, and it will be 3:30 a.m. in Europe, so GMT +1. So make sure, guys, you connect, because this is going to be the show where we're going to announce the winner of this one. And by then, we're also going to have much more information about confirmation of how the actual live finals of the MOA are going to be working out in terms of organization, points distribution, rankings, as well as benchmarks. So this is going to be interesting because we're going to have a look at those benchmark hardware requirements, what can we expect in terms of scores, or what are the targets of scores to be reached, and what records can actually be broken by overclockers in the no-limit competition. So this is going to be a very interesting episode, and you, Trouffman, you will be joining us here in Taipei, right?
That actually, yeah, I will be there. It's the next episode, the 12th of October, that's going to be just 1 week before the final. And I actually do fly over a bit in advance to be with you on the halls directly from Taiwan, all together at the show to talk about this 2-day final. That's going to be a long work for us, but that's going to be very interesting in the end.
Right. So stay tuned. You can remain on the chat. We'll be there for the next hour answering your questions. If you have any questions about the MOA or overclocking in general, just stay there and have a chat with us. We'd like to thank you guys for watching and being with us today. That was Peter from HWBOT. Thanks, Trouffman, for being with us. And my name is Tim, and I will be seeing you in about a month from now on our next show. Stay tuned. If you like this video, just give us a thumbs up in YouTube if you're watching it in YouTube. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our Twitch TV channel right there, top corner. Also, if you like to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get updates on all our videos, there's always a lot of stuff going on in the overclocking world, and we do love to share it. So thanks for watching, and bye-bye.
Bye.